So, hello, I have an awesome little guy. This is Harry. He's 4. His tongue's not normally that big though. And that's my therapy assistant, the awesome Lizzie. So Harry's a little dude on the autism spectrum, and Lizzie is our therapy assistant. So I will just talk you through how we got to the decision to kind of bring Lizzie on. So obviously we were probably like most of you here, we got our diagnosis and were kind of handed all these traditional services therapists that, you know, you should do. And I, who wanted to do everything at 100 miles an hour, were trying to do all of them all at once. I was also driving probably across Sydney way too far because this person or that person was the absolute best person, so you had to do that. And I was, I guess, this was me. Symptoms of the hurried woman syndrome. So I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but guilt, moody, scattered, rushed, a little anxious, feeling overwhelmed, irritable. No, well, I don't even know, I didn't know what sex was, I'd forgotten. I wasn't gaining weight, I was losing weight because I just wasn't eating, which apparently, according to my GP, is just as bad as eating crappy food is not eating and running around like a lunatic. Both are bad. And just feeling guilty because I couldn't do as much therapy as what I thought I should be doing to give my son best outcomes. But as the awesome Silvana says, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and I was sprinting. And I love this other quote, which is never embrace the pace. And I think we do feel like we're in such a hurry in the early years. You feel like the clock's ticking. You feel like, as we've spoken about this morning, that therapists have all the answers. They have some answers. They have some crucial answers. But actually, we have to be in a place where we can hear those, what they're offering. We can actually implement them, put them into place. We have to know what we want and use our therapist to, as a strategy, as a way of achieving what we want. And I was too busy running around Sydney. My goal was to get through the therapy. My goals weren't in line with what I actually wanted for my son. I was too busy. Aside from that, we couldn't afford to do 40 hours of therapy. And also, I was wondering if it was even helping. We had some significant gains early on, but then everyone was so stressed out that I didn't know if it was doing what we actually wanted. So we started to look outside the box, and I'm going to talk about this. I've got another talk where I'm going to talk about leading a good life and what I learnt in Ireland after this. So I'm going to talk about some of those other things then. So I'm mostly going to talk about therapy assistant. I know we're running a little bit short on time, so I might skip over these, but I will talk about these in the next slide. So this is our gorgeous Lizzie. This was actually at the beginning of our journey. So this is outside our OT, our traditional OT's office. And I just wanted to talk to you about how we brought her into the fold and made her part of the team. Because I'm not sure, I was actually using her before I knew what a therapy assistant was. I was lucky enough to be able to pay her as sort of like a babysitter, I guess, just cash in hand. But bringing her into the team and getting our team working, our team of professional therapists working all together was crucial in making it happen. So first of all, she came along to several of our sessions with our OT and our speech therapist. So she was across what they were doing in session. She learnt from them, she observed them, and she also participated a little bit within those sessions. I gave her chapters in books or articles that were of particular importance. We were doing the Hannon More Than Words program, and so I gave her the DVD of the Hannon, I gave her chapters to read. Also, anything that I thought was relevant to the specific goal that I was wanting her to work on at that time. Our therapist observed her in the different situations where she was doing the therapy with Harry and gave her some feedback. All our professionals share their notes, so I don't know if some therapists do summaries of the sessions, our therapists do, and we all share. So everyone shares, even me, I sometimes share notes of what's happened that week or whatever with my therapist, with my team. So we're all CC'd in. So even though the therapists are from different organisations and my OT students still at uni, everyone's part of that and connected in. And she's worked where we've needed her to work, in Harry's natural environments. So she's worked at home, which was great, and I was able to do other things. She takes him to the park, connects with local kids at the park. She met a retired OT therapist at the park the other weekend with Harry, and Harry was high-fiving, and so she is totally integrating him into like the community. But the biggest thing for us has been daycare, and obviously this is dependent on your child. But for us, my little guy, we were at a regular childcare setting that I was driving across Sydney to go to. Lovely place, they loved him to death, and there were special educators there working within the centre. I'm like, this is awesome, this is the best of both worlds, this is ticking all the boxes. What was happening though in that centre was that Harry was quiet, he was shut down. He wasn't showing them who he was and what he could do. I got his report at the end of last year, and there were all these crosses on these things that I knew he could do. And he was doing. And then I saw him at the daycare centre, and they were reading his favourite book of all time, and he was up the back kind of disengaged. And I'm like, this isn't inclusion. This is what we talked about the other day. This is integration. It's not inclusion. And even the trained therapist didn't know his potential, didn't know what he could do. So he was allowed to just kind of shut down and not be part of things. Anyway, long story short, I get him to this local school, local preschool that knows nothing, about autism or special needs or any of that. But she's like, I just treat them like all the others. You know, that was her attitude. And I was like, okay, we'll see if we can work with this. And I get Lizzie to go in, my OT student, my therapy assistant. And I go, okay, so they've had years of rapport, Lizzie and Harry. They know each other really well. She loves him. She knows what he can do. I said, your goal is to get him to show off. I want him to show off in front of all the teachers, in front of all his peers. Your job is to get his voice out and to get him to advocate for himself. I was very clear. Your job is not there to do things for Harry. Your job is to get Harry to do things for him, because that was the goal that I had for him. So what I'm saying is, be really specific if you're thinking about taking this on. It's not a general, this is what you should do, copy what I did. Think about what you want, what your child needs, what your goal is, and especially if you need it to be in different environments, or it's a goal that needs a lot of repetition, perhaps, like with the signing, like that's a same example. It's getting all of those people around to help achieve the goals. So I think I spoke about that. So just a couple of other little things that a therapy assistant can bring that perhaps a therapist or a mum can't. She's like a big sister, and when she's there, Harry, who used to be in his own world, is ready for playtime. Like, he'll be on his iPad and she'll be opening the door to come to home, and he goes, pack away iPad, time to play, Lizzie's here. Like, so he has that designated time where he knows it's engagement time. So she's not mum and dad, she's not a therapist, but she's a kind of a play buddy, which is what we needed for Harry. I can do other things while she's working with him. So while he's progressing, achieving goals, I'm also doing some other things. I don't do too much of that and that, although I wish I could. But I do get to fill up my tank a little bit. But most importantly, I use that time for visioning and for planning and for doing all those really important things like my social stories, visuals, talking to therapists, planning ahead. All of that stuff can happen while Lizzie's playing with Harry. So both of the goals are kind of moving along. So I just, as we've said, if you've got any questions, please do grab me, ask me. My email's up there, but also pop a question on the Nana page and then everyone can see. And I've also put a little resource in the book, I think, that has a little bit more about the practicalities of how to employ a therapy assistant, safeguards like working with children's checks, where to go to, and a bit more of the practical how to.